adults, and all you fine young children. I want to welcome everybody to the Memorial Day ceremony brought to you on behalf of the Darien Memorial Post 2838 of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. We of the Veterans of Foreign Wars appreciate you coming to this Memorial Day ceremony to help us remember, honor, and salute those who died in the armed forces of the United States. As we begin our ceremony, I'm pleased to introduce Eagle Scouts Daniel Quinert and William Dawes, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Immediately following the Pledge of Allegiance, please remain standing for the national anthem to be played by Hinsdale South High School Band, directed by Patrick Mogg. For both the pledge and the anthem, if you are a veteran, you may salute. Those not having been in the military should remove your hats and place your right hands over your heart. Eagle Scouts, please.
Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Memorial Day. It's a day set aside when states honor those veterans who have died. Originally, this day was observed by placing flowers on soldiers' graves. Later, flags were used. Earlier this morning at Clarendon Hills Cemetery, we honored the veterans that are resting there. Last Friday, Boy Scouts from Scout Troop 97, assisted by Downers Grove Troop 181, helped us from the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 2838 place over 1,400 flags on the veterans' graves, honoring their service. I want to say a special thank you to the Boy Scouts for their time and effort in helping us decorate the veterans' graves with our national emblem. Our Junior Vice Commander and World War II, yes, thank you very much. Our Junior Vice Commander and World War II veteran, Ed Oldest, remembered when he was a young kid how he helped his father and his VFW post remove old flags from veterans' graves, place new flags over those graves, and place flags over graves of recently buried veterans. Visit that cemetery in Clarendon on Cass Avenue and observe some of those 1,400 flags that wave over those veterans. It is also an excellent place to stop and say thank you. Because of veterans, we have had over 237 years of freedom. We are blessed that over 46 million veterans have helped us enjoy our freedoms. We gather today in honor of the brave heroes of our country who have made the ultimate sacrifice. It's because of their resolve that we are able to enjoy the lives we live today, the lives we've grown accustomed to here in America, living free from tyranny and fear. Today, we honor our fallen comrades of the United States military in the form of remembrance, and with it comes a deep sense of appreciation for their selflessness in protecting the land of the free and all they've done to ensure it stays that way. Each and every one of us owes a great debt to the courageous men and women who have given their lives to protect ours. While giving back to the extent they deserve is impossible, today, as we should every day, We merely attempt our repayment in the form of remembrance. We dedicate this day to them. As we go about our activities today, we should take the opportunity to not only remember the sacrifices of our fallen and mourn their departure, but we should also celebrate the spirit with which they served and reflect upon their contributions in making America truly the land of the free. It's because of the members of America's armed forces that we've been afforded the privilege of living in the greatest nation in the world. With that title comes a standard of responsibility. A responsibility to defend the homeland at all costs, and a responsibility to help other nations around the world when they need us. The valiant men and women of the United States military who perished while defending our nation understood that responsibility, and it took precedence above all else. Though they were our mothers, our fathers, our sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, and friends, when our nation called, they did not hesitate to answer, knowing that they may not make it home. They marched forth into unfamiliar countries, immersing themselves into dangerous situations. They showed great acts of selflessness for all who were to benefit from their fight. They gave up everything they had to create better lives for people all over the world, not just here at home, but for generations to come. Today we recognize all that they accomplished, their sacrifices, their spirit, and the patriotism they encompass. George William Curtis once said, "A man's country is not a certain area of land, or mountains, rivers, and woods, but it is a principle, and patriotism is loyalty to that principle." We take great pride in the fact that our nation has the most patriotic, loyal men and women on earth who are willing to step up to accept the demands that are asked of them. Our heroic service members who have perished in the name of freedom serve as an inspiration to all of us. They teach us about bravery, strength, and pride. They are the great protectors of the United States Constitution, and in their memory, we should reflect upon the happiness in our lives, the happiness they've ensured that we're free to pursue. Not one of our fallen comrades' lives has been lost in vain, not a single one. Too often we take our freedom for granted. We take this day, as we should every day, to come together as an appreciative people, grateful for everything that we have, for it is much more than many other countries. We take this day to thank and give credit where credit is due, to those who paid the price for our freedom. We also want to recognize our military families as a whole, for the sacrifices they make that they make and have made. To paraphrase from Army Chief of Staff General Ray Odierno, the strength of our nation is our military. The strength of our military is our service members. And the strength of our service members is our families. While we will never be able to replace the lives of those lost fighting for our nation, we will pay tribute to their memory for generations to come by passing along these three lessons they unknowingly have taught us. Number one, stand up for others who are weaker than ourselves. 2, stand together. There is great strength that comes in numbers. And lastly, do the right thing. Right will always overcome wrong. With our fallen heroes and their families in mind, I ask that before each of you leaves here today, you make a promise that you will never forget, that you will live by the same principles that our fallen have stood for. May God bless all of our departed heroes, their families, and may God bless America. At this time, it is my distinct honor to introduce today's guest speaker, Kathleen Weaver, Mayor of the City of Darien, to say a few words. Madam Mayor.
Good morning. Good morning. I'd like to thank Commander Goodwin and Senior Vice Commander Darien for inviting me here to participate in today's event honoring the fallen. On January 20th, 1961, President John F. Kennedy spoke these words: Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty. Consider the times that he spoke those. We were at war, in a Cold War, with the communist USSR, and almost facing the embargo of rockets to Cuba. But those words ring true today. President Kennedy also spoke of the high cost of freedom, and we are witnesses to that fact here today. We stand ready to honor those that have fallen and honor every member of our armed services who have stepped up to defend our freedoms. Today, we are called upon to show our support for the men and women who are currently serving our country in faraway places such as Iraq and Afghanistan, a very different battlefield than our past wars. And it's good that we take the time to honor soldiers that come back from Iran and Afghanistan. It reminds us over and over again of the precious freedom that they are protecting on our behalf, and the heavy price that we pay in the United States of America to continue to bring freedom to the rest of the world. It's an honor to be here today to celebrate Memorial Day with you. I thank you for being here, and I look forward to a day when we can look around the world and see no wars, and all people living in peace and harmony. Thank you, and God bless America.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's always a pleasure to have you here, and we appreciate your support of our post and of all the veterans in the Darien community. We will now continue with the formal ceremony, a tradition of the VFW worldwide. As long as two comrades survive, so long will the veterans of foreign wars of the United States render tribute to our heroic veterans, dead and alive. Comrades, attention. On this Memorial Day 2013, we are assembled once again to express sincere reverence. This monument represents the peace our departed comrades died for and our surviving veterans have fought for in all the wars. Our presence here is in solemn commemoration of all those men and women, an expression of our tribute to their devotion to duty and to their courage and patriotism. By their services on land, on the seas, and in the air, they have made us their debtors. For the flag of our nation still flies over a land of free people. Comrades, parade rest. I'd ask that Comrade Chaplain Dave Madrich please ask our divine blessing.
Father of us all, in the depth of our silent reverence, we realize the truth of the inspired words, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. Help us be faithful unto thee and one another. Look with mercy on the widows and children of our departed comrades. We beseech thee, and with thine own tenderness, console and comfort all our veterans and those who are bereaved. Heavenly Father, bless our country with freedom, peace, and righteousness. Through thy favor may we meet at last before thy throne in heaven. We praise thy great name forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Comrades, attention. Officers and members of Darien Memorial Post 2838, veterans of foreign wars, we will now pay solemn tribute to our veterans wherever they are. Let me add to the list of veterans from all wars the 6 members of our post who have passed away since last Memorial Day. Alphabetically they are John Bowman, Joseph Cusera, Angelo Rubino, Philip Schulda, Frank Smith, Samuel Volpendesto, and Ralph Vicencio. As we begin our ceremony, I'd like to ask our Senior Vice Commander, Nick Darien, to come forward for the wreath placement.
On behalf of Darien Memorial Post, VFW 2838, I place this wreath as a symbol of our remembrance.
Junior Vice Commander Ed Oldis.
I place this symbol of purity on this wreath. May each future generation emulate the unselfish courage of all who fought for our freedom.
Officer of the Day, Frank Brodzinski.
In memory of the heroic dead who have fallen and the veterans who served in defense of the United States of America, I place this tribute of our devotion and everlasting remembrance.
Post Adjutant Terry Abma.
I place this emblem of eternity. Its color bespeaks life everlasting. Thus we immortalize the brave deeds of our soldiers, sailors, and Marines who have given their lives on land, on and under the sea, and in the air.
On behalf of our glorious Republic, for whose integrity our comrades enlisted and served, I place this emblem of the nation. The flag of our country was theirs to defend. Its glorious colors shall wave over them in death as in life, for everyone to behold. The veterans who are serving, who have served, and who have departed, we render this salute. Comrades, present! Huh! Color Sergeant, render your salute.
Terry Adden, the post adjutant, has a few comments.
All right, one of our traditions is to remind everyone of our country's past wars and conflicts. Today I want to say a few words about our most recent war that's still going on. We all know about the war in Afghanistan and to some extent in Iraq. We're reminded again this month, or about a month ago, that the boundaries of this war are not limited to the Middle East. During World War I, World War II, Korea, and to some extent Vietnam, we knew who the enemy was. I say to some extent in Vietnam because the North Vietnamese, there was the North Vietnamese army, and then there was the Viet Cong. Viet Cong were mainly citizens, civilians rather, who fought a guerrilla war dressed as the local people. You couldn't tell if anyone was a friend or a foe. The Iraqi army knew they couldn't stand up to the American military, so they made a token stand and faded away to fight their own guerrilla war of ambush and explosives. Joined by the Taliban and any number of terrorist organizations that are currently pursuing religious domination in many parts of the world. And unfortunately, fanatics are here in America too. Americans are pretty tolerant of any religion. And it's our Constitution that keeps our government from imposing any one religion on all of us. Thus, we are in a war with a civilian army bent on changing our way of life. Since they're civilian, we can't even bring ourselves to put a name on this enemy for fear of alienating a whole group of people. But we had better decide what to do about this enemy, or we will succumb to our own political correctness. Our founding fathers established this country's government based upon accepting all religions via the Declaration of Independence and the supreme law of the land, our Constitution. Actually, the VFW was established under this same doctrine. So with that in mind, let's hear a musical prayer from the Hinsdale South High School Band. Thank you. Now please join us in another one of our poems. Symbolizes the many crosses and cemeteries across the world. While we're placing our poppies, I'll read the names of 17 Illinois soldiers who died in the Middle East since the last Memorial Day in 2012. Let us be thankful that the number has dwindled, but be ever mindful that each and every one of our military is a family member who will be missed. Scouts from Troop 97 will assist in passing out the poppies. So the two of you can step up here and pick up the helmet. Our members and scouts go first, followed by everyone else. Actually, luckily, I don't even have 17. The numbers that I have here, the names, are Specialist Samuel T. Watts, age 20, of the 82nd Airborne Division, U.S. Army. His hometown is Wheaton, Illinois. Specialist Bryant Luxmore, 25, 3rd Infantry Division, U.S. Army. He lives in New Windsor, Illinois. PFC Trevor Pinnock, age 20, 2nd Infantry Division, U.S. Army. He lived in Lawrenceville, Illinois. Sergeant Michael E. Ristaw, age 25, 2nd Infantry Division, Rockford, Illinois. Gunner's Mate 2nd Class Dion Roberts, 25, Naval Special Warfare Development, U.S. Navy, from North Chicago. Additionally, we got recognition from the governor's office, who lowers the flag typically for 3 days, the last day being the day of the funeral. These were not on the other list. I'll add 2nd Lieutenant Dwight Exum. I have no other information on that. Corporal Aaron Ripperda, United States Marine Corps, from Highland, Illinois. 1st Lieutenant John Turpinning, U.S. Army, from Mount Prospect. 2nd Lieutenant Emil T. Wazalewski, U.S. Army, out of Chicago. And Lance Corporal Joshua E. Witzman, the Marine Corps. Thank you. Now, if I can ask the Hinsdale South Band, if you want to replay that God Bless America while we're doing the walking here, that would be great.
From the Girl Scout troops sponsored by Concord and Elementary School and Cass Junior High School. So please give them a round of applause. As we continue here, I want to explain briefly the history of the poppies that are being placed at the foot of the cross. The poppies were originally became the symbol of remembrance in both the United States and in Canada after, in World War I, Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae of the Canadian Armed Forces, a surgeon, had spent all day fighting valiantly to save the lives of many Allied service members in World War I. And shortly after he had lost a dear friend of his that he was attempting to save, he took a stroll out the back of the surgical tent, sat on the ground looking out at the fields in a place called Flanders Fields. And as he looked, he saw this beautiful red flower popping up amongst the crosses in the area behind the surgical tent where the dead were buried. As he sat there, Lieutenant Colonel McCrae saw these flowers blowing in the breeze amongst those crosses and began to write a poem called On Flanders Fields. The poem goes on to talk about how one by one the flowers would blow between the crosses, row on row. This poem and this flower have gone on to be a symbol of remembrance for well over a century now, as they have continued to be the symbol that both the VFW, who was first to adopt the poppy as its flower of remembrance, and also the American Legion, choose to distribute these flowers as a form of remembrance for those that have passed in service of their country. So every year our post will distribute these beautiful little flowers as a form of remembrance for those that have gone before us, those that we have fought and served alongside of, and those that have gone before us as giants whose shoulders we are standing upon. These poppies that you're placing today are made by disabled veterans in both VA hospitals and VA care homes around the nation, both as a means of generating a personal income and also as a means of personal physical therapy for those that need the additional either physical or mental therapy in both assembling the flowers and as something productive and meaningful for them to do. Thank you everyone for placing the flowers here at the foot of this cross today. This cross and its helmet represent the tens of thousands of crosses that stand worldwide as a place of remembrance, marking the graves where our fellow men and women have gone before us in service of their country and given the ultimate price that they could give, their own lives in the defense of freedom. So I thank you very much. Before I close, I want to take an opportunity. This wasn't planned, but I'm always one for a good shameless plug here. But I'd like to ask William Dawes, Eagle Scout from Troop 97, to come forward, stand forward here for a moment. Young William here, who comes from a whole family of Scouts. He and his brother both are in our troop. Young William here was just named the Department of Illinois Veterans of Foreign Wars Eagle Scout of the Year in the state of Illinois. So please give him a round of applause. Thank you, William, for all that you've done for scouting in our community as well. And I know your brother, who just completed his Eagle Scout project, is hot on your heels for that award in future years as well. Also, I want to recognize, although I have not seen him there in the crowd today, just learned this week that our very own retiring principal of Lace Elementary School, Marty Casey, has been named the Illinois VFW Outstanding Citizen of the Year in the field of education. So please give him a round of applause as well. For those that may not know, Marty Casey's efforts in the classroom, in both the fields of patriotism and Americanism education to his students are without a doubt above and beyond anything that any curriculum could ever be written. Many of us, myself, Brad Drake, who's in our honor guard, Major Mark Provenzano back there, we've all been recognized at some point on Veterans Day by Marty Casey as Veterans of the Year for the elementary school, and that's only a tip of the iceberg for the types of programs that Marty runs in his school. And with that, I'd like to turn my attention to the school children that are with us here today. I want you all to know that you are the future of this country. It's ceremonies like these, and it's events like Memorial Day that you will carry forward in years and years to come. Long after those of us in white shirts have gone and been laid to rest ourselves, it's you that will be left to remember those that have gone in service of their country. It is you who will take the mantle of our government, of our corporate and private sector in the future, and will be leading this country into doing greater, bigger, and better things. But please do not ever forget the sacrifices that have been made by the men and women who lay beneath crosses like this worldwide. Memorial Day is more than about barbecues, vacations, time off school, time off of work, and big deal sales at the car dealership at the furniture store. Memorial Day was started and brought to us because of the men and women that lay beneath the ground underneath these crosses worldwide. It is because of them that we are able to stand here today and have sales at the car dealerships, have a day off school or a day off work. It's because of them that we are able to breathe the air that we breathe in a free nation, free to practice whatever religion we want, free to speak our minds, and every other constitutional right that we have. It is because of them, and we owe them the greatest debt of gratitude. I want to thank Mayor Kathleen Weaver, Mayor of the City of Darien, for coming today to speak, Band Director Patrick Mogg, and all the young men and women of the Hinsdale South High School Band. I want to thank Eddie Anderson and Eagle Scout William Dawes for playing taps and echo taps. I want to thank our two young Eagle Scouts for providing us with the Pledge of Allegiance. We are happy to have the Hinsdale South High School Band provide us with closing music written by John Philip Sousa. It will perform a collection of Sousa's marches. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming today. This concludes our formal ceremony. Thank you.